G'day Hexes, Havoc here, and today we're going to be having a look at the power of bread. But not that bread. That bread is awesome, but we're actually going to be looking at the acronym B.R.E.A.D. So what it is basically is a system designed to help out newer players and give you a good general idea of the pick priority that you should be doing in something like a draft, or the cards, the order of cards you should be looking at in like a sealed pool. So it simply stands for this. So you got B for bombs, R for removal, E for evasion, A for aggression, and D for defense. Now the A can also mean advantage, and we'll get to that. But so yeah, so that's, you want to be looking at bombs first, as they're the cards that have the big impact. So that's what we're going to look at first here in the system of B.R.E.A.D. So let's move on to bombs. So we're going to be using some new cards as examples here. So first up we have Timothy the Turtle as a bomb card. It is a legendary, and that is something that most bomb cards generally are rare or legendary, which is fortunate or unfortunate, whichever way you want to look at it. And they are not something you see. They're not something seen often in a limited environment. But they are cards. Bomb cards are the ones with the most explosive impact, pun intended, on a game, and they can generally win it by themselves if left unchecked. So and a bit of a word of warning there. Say you opened a sealed pool and you do notice that you have a really nice bomb card, Timothy being one of the examples there. Another example is something like Lixil Heartsworn. If you notice you have this card and the rest of your Sapphire shards, the cards in that shard, maybe the rest of the cards are not that great, so mediocre perhaps. And like say you then find your secondary color, you generally want to be looking at two colors in a draft or in a sealed. You want to try get if you can do monocolor, that's great as well. But generally you're going to be looking at two colors. But yeah, you don't want to be forcing it too hard if it means running several bad cards to make up either your curve or just fill out the rest of your deck to get to that 40 card amount, which is the amount used in limited. As you might draw those bad cards that you feel that you're more likely to draw those than say that one-off bomb in the deck. So not always the best idea to force a bomb, but yes, they are powerful, and they are the first thing you should be looking for when opening a sealed or doing drafts. So yeah, Lixil, another great one there, coming in Dead of Winter. Another example here, we've got Shamrock the Goldfather. So these, they're generally cards, as I said, if they're left unchecked, they can decide a game by themselves. So the Goldfather here, every time your opponent plays something that isn't a resource, you're going to just get a bunch of lucky coins, which you can then use later to discard. You can use them as resources or discard them to play the top of card of your deck for free. So lots of value there attained just by him sitting there. He can just sit there on his chair, do nothing, and you're going to be gaining some advantage. And potentially that'll get you the win. So another example, you got the Jacked Colossus here, a giant, very big 3/7 there for 5, and it does make it so your opponents must block it if able. So pretty crazy effect there. Could really imagine that coming down with speed, potentially with a certain champion. Could be pretty disgusting. So that's some examples of bombs there. But let's move on to. Well, here's another one actually. There's a rare, so not all legendary. Some, this here, in my opinion, is a really nice rare. Very, very nice effect there. 2, 3 for 3. So it's not, it's not too hard to remove, but if it is left unchecked, can really do a lot of work. This one here, so pretty sweet card. Looking forward to using that one. But yeah, let's move on to the next one. So we got bombs, and now we've got the removal. So these are obviously the cards that can handle the threatening cards that your opponent have, most notably their troops. It's also the only way in which you can deal with opposing bombs for the most part, generally. Some removal cards, don't actually get rid of an opponent's troop off the board or permanently. They may just be negating the troop in some way. You might have something that can exhaust a troop every turn. And these are generally things that are considered pseudo removal. And in some cases just as good as something that permanently removes it from the game, but they are in a lot of cases more situational. a good tip when you've got something like Return to Cinder, for example, which is a new removal in Dead of Winter. It's a quick action, deals 2 damage to target opposing troop at quick speed. Now that's the kicker here, is that it's a quick action. Now, the thing when it comes to quick speed interaction is you want to be look out for lines that can get you a 2-for-1 or more. And the ways in which you can do that sometimes are, say for example you're attacking with a 2-2, maybe your opponent has a 2-2 of their own, and they then want to keep their troop alive because they don't want to trade, and they might use a buff spell. A quick speed, maybe a +2/+2 or something, and then because you've got this quick speed removal, you can then kill their troop in response and net yourself a nice 2-for-1, keeping your troop alive, and they've used their buff for no gain. So you want to be able to look out for those type of lines. There's many different interactions. Like one of the great things about Hex, many ways to interact during your opponent's turn and all that sort of good stuff. But that's one good example there, the Return to Cinder. We've also got Overwhelming Guilt, another common, which can destroy, this one's just basic speed, so, but yeah, it can destroy, much like Butcher previously, can destroy an exhausted troop, but you also get that added benefit of the new mechanic there being Verdict. Another example, Arcing Venom. Now this is generally fits in the category of a combat trick, but this one here, because it has such a high, very high, in my opinion, probability of actually killing things, thanks to the fact that it gives 3 troops lethal. Not only does it get a high degree of success, in most cases, when played correctly, you're going to kill something, but up to 3 things as well. So that makes this a beautiful card in my opinion. Looking forward to using that one. Great with Dreadlings as well. So yeah, removal, something very important. Again, the bombs are top priority. And then you want to be looking to see which colors have, maybe the most removal. How much removal can I get out of this sealed pool, or how much removal you're seeing throughout the draft. They are high priority things. Next up, you want to get the Evasion, and in most cases that comes down to evasive troops. And so yeah, you're looking for troops that have powers to evade opposing troops. Flight is the most commonly seen form of evasion on troops. So we got the example here of the Swooping Gravitros, which is rather nice, gives you a nice common portal, another new mechanic within Dead of Winter. Just nice 2-for-1 there. You get a flyer, then you get something random in your hand later that'll keep changing. But yeah, so flight's the most common, and they can only be generally stopped, either by removal, of course, or other opposing flyers or troops with Scarguard. Unblockable is the cream of the crop, though, when it comes to evasion. As they are troops that can't be blocked by pretty much anything, except with the aid from some serious sorcery. So yeah, there's Wings of Wax. It's not always on troops that you're going to be getting your evasion from. In this case, this here is something that gives all elementals you control flight, which is pretty damn sweet. But yeah, the cream of the crop, as I said, is unblockable. So here's an example of something. Again, in the new set, it's the Heartsworn Cutthroat. And you can pay 2 charges. Now the square there means it's 2 charges when you deploy the troop, and you can then give it +1 and unblockable, making it a 3/3 for 4 unblockable. So yeah, so really nice. Evasion is a highly valued quality, hence the reason it is 3rd pick priority. Now, in saying that, they're not always, sometimes the removal, you might want that over a bomb, and so on and so forth, but generally a good starting point when it comes to pick priority is using the B.R.E.A.D system. So again, evasion very highly valued. So next up we have obviously aggression. Now I did say also advantage. Excuse me. So aggression just simply comes down to the cheap creatures that can attack profitably in the early game. The chance to swing it early, your opponent can put them on the defensive, force them to use resources that they ought to be saving for bigger threats. Maybe they use some of their premium removal early. Especially on such a card like this Luminite, it is pretty damn fantastic. Really nice artwork once again. But yeah, a 2/2 for 2 with Swift Strike, but also having some advantage tied into the card. Whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you're going to gain some advantage. It's going to be instant board advantage. So that's pretty damn sweet, getting that Illuminate one there. Awesome looking candle on the shoulder there. Great stuff. So, as I said, aggression or advantage is what you want to be looking for at this point. And this is just a really great example of a card You know, some people might even say this is bomb worthy, but not quite. But it is definitely really high value, this type of card here. It's not only is it aggression, it's also advantage, so it does add a bit more value to this type of card there, because it's not only a very respectable and powerful 2-drop, it also has that other ability in there as well. For an uncommon, pretty damn sweet. So another example is the Vital Squirm Hound, which is a blood 1/3 for 2 that has you know, some synergy with B.R.E.A.D decks, but also every troop that's buried will make this stronger and stronger in terms of its attack value. So pretty damn nice. And then, you know, of course, you know, there's 2 examples of aggressive troops, and then one of my favorite ways to get advantage, Consult the Talon. Very beautiful card. You can mobilize 3 troops, which is a mechanic that you can exhaust 3 non-exhausted troops to reduce the cost of a card by 2 for every mobilized. So in this case, because it has to mobilize 3 times, you can make this a 1-cost draw 3. Pretty damn sexy advantage right there. And yeah, leveraging more cards than your opponent. Yeah, just really yum. So that's, you know, you want to be looking at aggressive cards like the 2-drops we saw. You know, really high quality 2-drops especially, and then cards that just give you, you know, advantage, but also any removal spells. Like a good example of a removal spell that also had advantage tied in was something like Runic Decay, which, you know, Runic cards are also another good example, I guess, but Runic Decay was a good one, as you could kill something. When you then draw a shard later, you could potentially kill something else, and you've also gained 4 health, so, you know, Runic Decay was one of my favorite cards. So next up we have defense as the last part of the bread, the last slice even. So yeah, you know, you've got, you know, you generally don't want to be, you know, they're at the bottom of the list there for a reason. You generally don't want to be taking too much stuff that can only generally effectively defend you. You know, you want to have stuff that can defend and attack. You know, in certain you know, in most situations you want to have that ability. Something that can only ever defend you is, you know, not all that great. But in the case of this card, you know, it's a great, this was a good one. It's, you know, not going to be, it's not in the new set, so we're not going to have it in limited, but it's a good example because it was something that can help fill out your curve if you're lacking in early troops. You know, your curve is important as well. You want to make sure you have, you know, a lot of 1s, 2, and 3s as the bulk of your deck, as you want to, you know, you want to increase the odds of curving out rather nicely. And I won't go into too detail about curve because I will do another video to do with curving out. So check out my YouTube for that one as well. Hopefully I'll have it up at some point soon. But yeah, and this was another one. You could help fill out your curve rather nicely, but also as it was effectively working as pseudo removal in the sense that any of your opponent's aggressive troops, say they're 2/2s for 2 and they're 3/3 for 3, this could block nicely and just, you know, shrug it off. And also do it against flyers as well, against those evasive troops. So, you know, it was a good example of something that, you know, yes, it can never win you the game by attacking, but it can help buy you time to get to your 5-cost bombs or your 6-cost bombs. You know, so it buys you that time, lets you get to your big value stuff, to then hopefully you turn the game around and start winning. But they're not something you should prioritize by any means, but a good, you know, something to put in as your last card or last few cards. These are the type of cards you would look for. So that pretty much, you know, gives you a general overview of the B.R.E.A.D system. So hopefully that's helpful. You know, I'm not going to go too in depth into it. Just a quick overview there. So as I said, the next video I'll be doing will cover curves. So stay tuned for that one. But hopefully this was helpful. And take care. Have a good one and happy hexing. Thank you for watching.